Hi, welcome to Essential IT and Security Skills. I'm Charles Redman, Master Trainer, here to guide you through the essentials that you are going to need to land the job that you are looking for. In this series, we're going to talk about essential PC skills. I'm going to walk you through everything from software to hardware. Most people know me as a cybersecurity expert. Well, I couldn't have gotten there without learning the basics first. That's what this series is going to do. And then we'll move on in some later series with some more advanced concepts and techniques. But remember, it all starts with the basics. It starts right here, the essential PC skills. In this segment, we're going to talk about the command line interface. I'll explain the operation of the command line interface, execute some fundamental commands from the command line, and show you how to manipulate files and folders within the command line environment. So, like I say, it's always best to start at the beginning. In the late 1970s, IBM invented the PC, but needed an operating system. A company called Digital Research had an operating system, but turned them down. IBM went to a small company owned by a young Mr. Bill Gates that had created an operating system called BASIC. Microsoft, or the company of one, Bill Gates, had never written an operating system, but accepted the challenge. Gates found an operating system called Quick and Dirty Operating System, or QDOS, and purchased it from a person who wrote it. Microsoft later released QDOS as MS-DOS version 1.1. MS-DOS 6.2 was ultimately released in 1994. The DOS operating system used a command line interface. So, how does the command line interface work? It all begins with what's called the prompt. That's what tells you that the computer is ready to do something. The user will type a command and then press enter. The computer then executes that command, and a new prompt is displayed. The command line interface executes commands just as the Windows GUI does. So on the left, you see the contents of C in the command line interface, and on the right, it's the same contents of C, only this time with a graphical user interface. You see, if I change to details in the graphical user interface, it gives me the same details that I saw in the command line interface. To start using the command line, simply go down to Start, and in the Run dialog box, type CMD, or you can type Command, and then press Enter or press OK. You'll be greeted with a window that looks like this. This is your command prompt. The command prompt is always focused on a specific folder. Commands operate on the files and folders in the folder in which the command line is focused. You can first focus on the drive and folder where you want to work to make commands simpler. Each program or piece of data is stored as a file on the drive. File names have two parts. A file name in DOS can be up to 8 characters long. An extension in DOS up to 3 characters long. And then you have what's called options. The file name and extension are separated by a dot. This is called the 8.3 naming system. Windows does not restrict the file name to the 8.3 naming system. It can be up to 255 characters. However, to be backwards compatible with DOS, you need to follow the 8.3 standard. Windows creates 2 file names for every file to ensure backwards compatibility. The 3 in the 8.3 naming system is the extension. It tells the computer the type of file it's dealing with, whether it's .exe or .png. So, can you tell what kind of file is the one on the lower right? Exactly, it's missing its extension. However, if I go to this same directory in the command prompt, you'll see that the squirrel file is a .jpg, which means it's a picture. All files are written in binary format. Different programs have unique methods of reading and writing, so one program may or may not understand the files from another program. The first universal file format was called ASCII. It defines 256 8-bit characters. Unicode uses 16-bit code to cover every character for the most common languages. The first 256 characters are the ASCII characters. Here you see the ASCII characters, all 256. So there are a few rules that you need to be familiar with. For instance, files and folders must be unique. You can't use the same name in the same folder. Within Windows, C represents the root directory of C. You see it indicated by C:, and then a slash. To describe a subfolder, you'll need to add a name of that folder. So if I want to navigate to C:/test, that is what I will enter in the command line prompt. The location of this file is called its path. It's extremely similar to the graphical interface that you're used to clicking on folders and plus and minus signs. A good technician must master the fundamental commands within the command line. The command line requires the exact syntax for each command. You will need to type the name of the command and the desired or allowed switches, and then press enter to execute that command. The switches modify the behavior of the command. Multiple switches may or may not be allowed. It depends on the command that you're using. So, for instance, if I type dir \w\p, it will display the directory in wide mode and one page at a time. However, if you get stuck, help is always available. Just type help, and it gives you a one-line description of whatever that command is that you need help with. If you need help on a specific command, just type the name of the command and then \, and it gives you specific help for that command. The directory command is probably the most used, and it will list all the contents in a particular directory. The dir \w command lists only the folder names and file names. If I want to know what available switches there are for the directory command, I'll simply type dir \, and a help page will show me the available switches for the directory command. Next, we have cd, or change directory. This allows you to change the focus to a different directory. The cd / command is used to return to the root directory, or I can type cd and then a folder name and then press enter to change focus to that specific folder or directory. If I want to back up one directory from where I have focus already, I would type cd ... If I want to switch between drives, I'll type the letter of that drive, followed by a colon, and then press enter. That will move me, for instance, from C to D. You should also be familiar with how to make and remove directories. The md or mkdir command is used for creating a new directory. The del command is used for deleting files, and the rd or rmdir command is used for deleting directories and subdirectories. One of the switches that you should be familiar with is rd \s. This will remove populated folders and their contents. And there's a lot more that I can do simply from the command prompt, like running a program. To do this, I'll change the prompt focus to the directory where the program is stored. In this case, I want to navigate to the system32 file. So I'll type cd for change directory, c:// because it's in the C partition, then type Windows as the file name, and then /system32. Next, I'll type the file name that I wish to execute. I can do this with or without its extension. Next, you should know how to work with files within the command line. The best place to start is always the beginning, so we'll start in the directory of C. So in the graphical interface, when I double-click the C drive on my computer, I don't see certain files or folders like netloader or boot ini. Maybe if I go to the command prompt. So in the directory of C, I'll type dir/p. That still doesn't do it. Maybe I need a new tool. This tool is simply knowing the attributes of the file. The attributes you'll have to choose from are H, R, S, and A. These are special values assigned to each file. For instance, H would be hidden, R, read-only, S, system files, or A, archive files. The attribute program can be used to change the attributes of any file. You'll use a minus or a plus sign to do this. A plus sign will add an attribute, where a minus sign will remove an attribute. So for instance, if I want to take alilog.txt and make it read-only, I would enter into the command line prompt attrib space plus sign R and then the file name. This will make the alilog.txt a read-only file. Or if the alilog.txt file is a hidden file, I would type attrib space, the minus sign, and then H, and then alilog.txt. Now the file is no longer hidden. You can also use what's identified as wildcards in the command line. This is often used if you don't know the exact name of the file, but you know the extension. The wildcards that you can use are the star, which represents any number of characters, or the question marks, which will represent a single character. For instance, if I know that I'm looking for a .txt file, but I don't know the name of that file, I can use star.txt. And it will list all files that end with the extension txt. But if I don't know that it's an extension txt, and maybe I need to replace one character, maybe I know it's an xt, but I just don't know what the first one is, I'll use the star because I don't necessarily know the name of the file, and then a question mark xt. Now that's going to list all files that end in xt. Also available is the command ren. It's used to rename files, as well as del and erase. These are used to delete files. Copy is used to make a copy of a file to a new location, where move is, you guessed it, I'm going to move a file to a new location. And xcopy is used when working with multiple directories. Remember, your syntax must be exact. The command robocopy is a somewhat newer command that was included in Windows 7 and Windows Vista. What it does is it allows many different functions beyond just copy and xcopy. It copies encrypted files, it duplicates source directories, and it allows administrators to copy even when denied permissions to the files. Here are a basic 5 steps to copy and move. First, point the command prompt to the directory containing the files to be copied or moved, and then type C:// and then the caret cd/docs. That will move me to the docs directory. Then type copy or move and a space. Next, type the name or names of the file to be copied, and then another space. This might be a good opportunity to use a wildcard. Then lastly, type the path of the new location for the files that you wish to copy or move, and then press enter. The command line is also full of some really useful utilities. Some of them we've already talked about, like check disk and format. You can also type in host name to display the name of the computer that you're on. If, for instance, you have some bad or corrupt Windows files, this would be a good opportunity to use the system file checker. Simply enter sfc/scan now. If you'd like to know the list of available attributes for the system file checker, just enter sfc/ and then question mark, and the help page will come up. There you have it. It's pretty simple. Remember, everything starts with the basics. Once you have these understood, everything gets a whole lot easier. If you have any questions or even just a comment, feel free to leave them below, and I do read each and every one of them. I'll see you next time.